you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson-Miller. Very special welcome to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. So we're talking about sexual harassment this evening. Is it a big problem in Jamaica? Well, that should be rhetorical, perhaps. And is it time for Jamaicans to break the silence? That against the background of Time magazine just today naming their quote-unquote person of the year, what they're calling the silence breakers, those who have spoken out this year on that issue of sexual harassment. And joining me in studio, we have Gavin Goff, partner at Myers, Fletcher and Gordon, Jodianne Quarry with us as well, also an attorney, international human rights lawyer. Errol Holmes is with us. He's a director of the Human Resource Management Association of Jamaica, and with us as well, Joyce Hewitt, past president of Woman Inc. And first, though, before we get to our guests, here's TVJ's Vashon Brown at the Smartboard with this overview.
Thank you so much, Dion. So I'll pretty much tell you about what's happening on the international scene, specifically in the United States. It's a long list of allegations of sexual harassment. Now, we're talking about prominent figures falling because of these allegations. And I'll start with Charlie Rose. Now, he was suspended from CBS as well as PBS because of those sexual harassment allegations, which range from unwanted sexual advances to inappropriate phone conversations. Now, his co-anchors at the CBS recently addressed the issues.
A moment that demands a frank and honest assessment about where we stand and more generally the safety of women. Let me be very clear. There is no excuse for this alleged behavior. It is systematic and pervasive. And I've been doing a lot of listening, and I'm going to continue to do that. This I know is true. Women cannot achieve equality in the workplace or in society until there is a reckoning and a taking of responsibility.
I have to say, Nora, I really am still reeling. I got an hour and 42 minutes of sleep last night. Both my son and my daughter called me. Oprah called me and said, "Are you okay?" I am not okay. After reading that article in the Post, it was deeply disturbing, troubling, and painful for me to read. That said, I think we have to make this matter to women, the women that have spoken up, the women who have not spoken up because they're afraid. I'm hoping that now they will take the step to speak out too, that this becomes a moment of truth. You know, I've enjoyed a friendship and a partnership with Charlie for the past 5 years. I've held him in such high regard, and I'm really struggling because what do you say when someone that you deeply care about has done something that is so horrible? How do you wrap your brain around that? I'm really grappling with that. I also find that you can hold two ideas in your head at the same time. You can grapple with things. And to be very honest with you, I'm still trying to process all of this. I'm still trying to sort it out because this is not the man I know, but I'm also clearly on the side of the women who have been very hurt and very damaged by this. And I'm going to, I haven't spoken to him. Have you spoken to him? Mm-mm. I haven't spoken to him. I intend to speak to him certainly later today. Mm-hmm. But I'm very sorry, and I'm very glad that they have spoken up.
So, Gail King as well as Nora O'Donnell, speaking about the complexity of this situation emotionally. There was recently the case as well with Matt Lauer. NBC Universal fired the morning show host because of what they called inappropriate sexual behavior.
Our top story is once again about our former colleague, Matt Lauer.
And in fact, we just moments ago received a statement from Matt, and let me read it to you. There are no words to express my sorrow and regret for the pain I have caused others by words and actions. To the people I have hurt, I am truly sorry. As I am writing this, I realize the depth of the damage and disappointment I have left behind at home and at NBC. Some of what is being said about me is untrue or mischaracterized, but there is enough truth in these stories to make me feel embarrassed and ashamed.
Alarming new allegations of sexual misconduct emerging against Matt Lauer, a former NBC employee, telling the New York Times that in 2001, Lauer summoned her to his office, locked the door, and sexually assaulted her. She says she never reported the incident because she felt ashamed and feared losing her job. Variety magazine also reporting accounts from 3 women who say Lauer harassed them. One says the veteran Today Show anchor gave her a sex toy and then detailed in a note how he wanted to use it on her. Another employee says he exposed himself in his office and then reprimanded her for not engaging in a sexual act. 10 current and former employees telling Variety that Lauer was fixated on women, especially their bodies and looks, and was known for making lewd comments verbally or over text messages. The big question is, who knew what when? Variety quoted several staffers who said they tried to alert executives about Lauer's behavior. In response to that, NBC says, we can say unequivocally that prior to Monday night, current NBC News management was never made aware of any complaints about Matt Lauer's.
All right. Hollywood has also been rocked by these allegations. Now, the allegations against film mogul Harvey Weinstein first came to light in a New York Times article.
Harvey Weinstein was one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. And when all these accusations started coming out about him, people were a little bit skeptical at first. To the outside world, Harvey Weinstein was just a very arrogant guy with a really bad temper. Now, deep inside Hollywood, this was a known issue, that Harvey Weinstein was allegedly going after these young actresses, trying to seduce them, and using his star power to manipulate them. When the New York Times article came out, and then when the New York article followed, accusing Harvey Weinstein of all of this sexual misconduct, and when more A-list actresses came out after Ashley Judd, you had Angelina Jolie, you had Lupita Nyong'o, Gwyneth Paltrow, that's when people really started to listen and pay attention to what they were saying, because sexual harassment has been rampant in Hollywood since the beginning of time. This is not a new issue.
As I mentioned, it's a very long list, and it also includes Russell Simmons, who is the music mogul. It also includes Al Franken, who is the Democratic senator from Minnesota, as well as Roy Moore, who is the Alabama candidate for the Republican. Bill O'Reilly from Fox News is also on that list. So sexual harassment allegations have been made against these people. Dion, you earlier on mentioned the Times Magazine Person of the Year. So take a look at the cover of that magazine, the silence breakers, the people who've been speaking out about sexual harassment. Dion, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Bashan. And I know your report focused on the United States, and indeed that's a lot of the news we've been getting, but we've also been seeing developments in the United Kingdom. Parliamentarians, for instance, one cabinet minister being accused, as well as others. We've seen it in France. And I guess the question is, what's happening here? Let me just give you a little bit of background. In a paper that university law lecturer Tracy Robinson did, she referred to a 1999 survey among public sector workers in Jamaica, and it said 33% reported that they had been subjected to sexual harassment. Gladys Brown Campbell, who had looked at patriarchy in the police force, said many women in the force, when they rejected some of these advances, they were being put on the night shift, they were denied promotion, transferred to Baca Bush. You all know how it goes, and all kinds of ramifications. So let me ask you first, Jody and Quarry, why is it you think that so far Jamaica has seemed very calm, very still? We haven't seen the kind of waves we've been seeing overseas.
In small societies, it's harder to have these sorts of conversations without repercussions. What you saw with Harvey Weinstein, for example, is very powerful women coming forward, having these sorts of conversations, but they had already got to the top of their career. They had clout in their own right to be able to make those sorts of accusations. The common concern I hear from people who want to say that there's a predator, who want to say that something is going on, is that they have to deal with the repercussions. Do you lose your job if something happens? Do you have a claim for, having said something defamatory about somebody, whether it's slanderous or libelous? You have to be concerned in a small space like Jamaica of the consequences of speaking up, and we have that real issue here.
The United States, though, huge country, and for years they had the exact problem. I mean, you mentioned the issue of powerful women accusing Weinstein, and I think, in fact, that's partly why that gained so much credence, because Bill Cosby didn't set it off. Other men didn't set it off, but because you had women who, as you said, were at the top of the game coming out and saying, hey, he did it to me, all of a sudden it seemed almost immediately people were accepting. You found that, Gavin Goff?
Yes, I think I found that. I think that whenever sexual harassment claims are made, or when you're contemplating making a sexual harassment claim, one of the first thoughts that a woman has to deal with is, will she be believed? And that's part of the reason why the Bill Cosby claims, even though that's also rape and sexual assault, but those women weren't believed. For decades, they weren't believed. So they weren't silent at all. Many of them had been speaking out about this for a very long time. But what we're seeing now is that when the powerful women speak out, as Jordan was saying, they're more likely to be believed. And that creates a kind of a safe environment for other women to come forward, because they then set the stage for the hope that at the very least they'll be given the benefit of the doubt.
All right, I'm just about at the break, so I'm going to go to the break. When we come back, we'll pick up on with our other guests, and we also ask, is there any difference between what we've been seeing in the United States with this hashtag MeToo movement and what we saw earlier here in Jamaica with hashtag Say Their Names, Life in Leggings as well? Stay tuned, and remember, you can tweet along with us. It's hashtag TVJ All Angles. Soon come.